Following leader remarks, the Senate will resume consideration of the gun safety legislation. The time until noon is equally divided and controlled for debate on the Barrasso and Harkin amendments. At noon, there will be 2 votes in relation to those amendments. Following the votes, the Senate will recess until 2 p.m. to allow for some important caucus meetings. At 2 p.m., the Senate will proceed to executive session to consider the Torres and Watson nominations. At about 2:15, then, there will be a roll call vote on confirmation of Torres nomination and an expected voice vote on confirmation of Watson. Mr. President, a new tragedy during the night, and our thoughts are with the people of West Texas. It's the name of a city in Texas. Our thoughts are with all of Texas in the wake of a terrible explosion of a fertilizer factory in the town of, as I indicated, West, just outside Waco. The extent is being estimated at this time, 5 to 15, a couple hundred who are wounded, injured. But I'm troubled. I feel so bad about those who are hurt. They were working, they were sleeping, they were having dinner. I offer my condolences to those who lost loved ones and who have people who are wounded and injured. We'll continue to follow the news from Texas as it develops today. And I'm going to do everything I can with my colleagues to ensure that this terrible tragedy has the resources of the federal government available to help the people of that city as they recover from this tragedy. Mr. President, this nation has simply dealt with too much loss during the last few months. Once again, I offer my condolences to the families who joined us here yesterday to honor the loved ones that they lost to gun violence and lobby for stronger background checks. The mothers and fathers of the murdered children out of Newtown were there. Family and friends of those who were injured and killed in Aurora, Colorado were there. We had people here from the tragedy, 33 people killed at Blacksburg, Virginia Tech. They were here yesterday. We knew the effort to keep America's streets safe. Gun violence wouldn't be easy. I commend Senator Manchin and others for setting aside partisanship to negotiate this compromise. Unfortunately, even though we got a strong majority vote, well over 55 senators voted in favor of this. And Frank Lautenberg came he hadn't been here for a while, he's been ill, but he came here, he voted. We voted with a strong majority to change things here in America so that people who have serious mental illness would have to have a background check before they can buy a gun, or that criminals would have to have a background check before they can buy a gun. Even people who are selling the guns think there should be some background check. The man that sold the gun to the man who walked into the courthouse in Las Vegas and blasted away, that man that sold that gun said he sold guns to lots of people that were bad people. But he did it legally. He thinks the law should be changed. So the vast majority of the Senate agreed that should be the case. But we couldn't get to 60, the magic number here in the Senate. Yesterday, the families of gun violence watched as Republicans defeated a common sense proposal to expand background checks that has the support of 90% of Americans. But make no mistake, the debate is not over, Mr. President. This is not the end of the fight. Republicans are in an unsustainable position, crosswise with 9 out of 10 Americans. An event we did out this back door yesterday, Senator Schumer said, I think, and he summed it up about as well as you could, when he said, America today is about the same place America was a few years ago, dealing with immigration, gay marriage, and things related to gender disparity. That's the wrong word. Gender equality. Now, Mr. President, I believe that Senator Schumer is right. This is the beginning, and it has to happen. Any time in America, on those rare occasions when 90% of the American people agree something should be done, it should be done, and it will be done. It's only a question of time. The brand of the Republicans is further tarnished by going against what 90% of the American people want. Democrats will continue to stand with the families from Newtown, from Aurora, from Tucson, Carson City. And I assure the 90% of Americans who support meaningful background check legislation that I personally will continue this fight. Now, Mr. President, another subject. The Senate suffered a notable and stunning defeat at bipartisanship this week during the debate over background checks. But, Mr. President, they said a week ago we would never get on the bill, but the Senate joined together and we got on the bill. And then yesterday, as I've indicated earlier, we got a significant majority of the United States Senate voting to move forward on this background check. 90% of the Democrats, which is in keeping with the American people, and 4 valiant Republicans joined to put us where we are today. But the week didn't bring only bad news from the legislative front. A bipartisan group of 8 of my Senate colleagues would never have happened a few years ago, but it's going to happen now. As I indicated, as quoting Senator Schumer, background checks is about where immigration was just a few years ago. A bipartisan group of 8 of my Senate colleagues, 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans, from all different political persuasions, introduced a comprehensive plan to reform our broken immigration system. Senators Schumer, McCain, Durbin, Menendez, Graham, Bennett, Rubio, and Flake have worked very, very hard on this legislation. And, Mr. President, all one needs to do is look at the legislative pedigree of these 8 senators. They're all over the book. Liberal, conservative, moderate. And that's the way that it should be. I commend each of them for setting partisanship aside, both Democrats and Republicans, setting partisanship aside on an issue that's critical to our great nation. You know, the 4 Democrats didn't get everything I wanted in that legislation that they now have before the American people. No, they didn't give me, they didn't give Democrats everything that they wanted in these negotiations. But, Mr. President, as I've said on this floor numerous times, that's what legislation is. It's the art of compromise. It's not the art of getting everything you want. I've been in this body a long time, and I've been very fortunate to put my name on things that's passed here. And I've helped guide things through the Senate in the last many years. And I have to, on occasion, swallow hard and say, well, we're going to have to compromise here to get this done. That's what we need to do. People have been in a situation where they've been unwilling to compromise. And things that have happened in the great history of this body have come by compromise. I have never, ever gotten everything I wanted. Republicans in these negotiations dealing with immigration, I guarantee you they didn't get everything they wanted, just as Democrats didn't. But I am satisfied with this legislation. It continues to secure our borders, the northern and southern borders. It improves our dysfunctional legal immigration system. Our immigration system is broken and has been for quite some time and needs to be fixed. And another thing that's important, it requires 11 million people who are undocumented to pass a criminal background check, pay fines, start on a path of citizenship, and yes, learn English. It doesn't put them to the head of the line, it puts them to the back of the line. Takes them about 12 or 13 years to finally get up there, but at least the program is moving forward. So I look forward to hearings on this measure that will be led by Senator Leahy. Mr. President, I want to take a minute and commend Chairman Leahy. He's the most senior member of the United States Senate. He's the President pro tem of the Senate, but he also has an important responsibility as Chairman of the Judiciary Committee. The reason we were able to get the legislation on the floor that we've been working on this past few weeks is because of Leahy, because he had his committee. Even though, as I've just indicated, Senator Leahy didn't agree with everything that came out of that committee of his. He comes from the state of Vermont, much different than people who are on that committee who come from other places around the country. But he brought it forward. And everything we voted on as the base bill came out of that committee. And it's the same is going to happen on immigration. Senators that these 8, significant number of them, want to do hearings, want to have a markup. Other senators said, let's just move it to the floor. Well, there are a number of senators who believe that it should come out of the committee first. And so that's what's going to happen. So I commend Senator Leahy for agreeing to do this. He's going to have a hearing tomorrow, another one on Monday. He's going to have a set of estimated time for the markup. So I commend him for his leadership with judiciary. I repeat, I look forward to hearings on this measure before the committee and to a thoughtful debate on the Senate floor. We're going to have ample time to discuss this and consider this legislation. And I'm going to do what I can to get this bill across the finish line, which I think we're going to do. I think we're going to do it pretty soon. Now, Mr. President, we deal with a lot of controversial things. That's the way it's always been here. And we deal with controversial issues that elicit passionate responses, including the immigration proposal I just outlined, the anti-violence legislation that I talked about earlier. We try to deal with these issues thoughtfully and with respect. Those who serve and work in the Senate do so out of a sense of patriotism and a love of country. Mr. President, I disagree with a number of my Republican senators. Jeff Sessions, he and I don't know if we've ever voted on anything the same way, but I have tremendous respect for him as a person. He does what he believes is right. His colleague from Alabama, Richard Shelby, one of my dear friends, he and I don't vote much alike, but our relationship is one of respect and admiration for each other. That's what we have to do in this body. So, Mr. President, I never question the patriotism or love of country of any senator, because if I did, I would be wrong. So it was deeply disturbing that an anonymous individual would attempt to send deadly poison to Senate offices as well as the White House. It appears through the swift action of the Capitol Police and federal law enforcement officials, a suspect has been apprehended in these cowardly, anonymous attacks, and I hope he will be brought to justice very soon. We should all understand that this incident does not appear in any way to be related to the tragedy in Boston. Nevertheless, it's a reminder to the Senate community and to all Americans to remain vigilant during these unsettling times. And it's also a reminder that Senate offices should continue to follow mail policies that are in place for their safety in this investigation. Unfortunately, the system in place to protect the Senate community, maybe people say, well, it's not good enough. It is good. I remember what happened when we had anthrax, Senator Daschle, Senator Leahy in previous years. So the system in place to protect the community, Senate community, has worked, and that's good. This suspicious These suspicious letters were found and intercepted before they reached the Capitol. So I applaud the postal employees and law enforcement officials who detected and neutralized this threat. I commend the Senate Sergeant-at-Arms, Chief Gaynor, and the Capitol Police for their diligent work to keep the Senate community safe. And I rest easier knowing that the safety of everyone who works and visits in the Capitol is our first priority. I know that to be the case. I apologize to my friend, the Republican leader, for talking longer than I usually do.